How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I really need to come up with like an intro to my videos. I've been too lazy, but I think at some point I really need to do that. There's specifically this like one song that I want to use in my intro and my outro. But I haven't figured out how to do that yet. And honestly, if any of you guys know how to do something like that, let me know in the comments below. That would be a great help to me. So you're probably wondering why I'm doing a review for this movie. Well, this is something that I want to do on my channel. I don't want to do it too often, just every once in a while. Most of my reviews I do want to be based on new releases. Every so often I do want to do what I'm going to call a classic review. And there'll be a few different things to the criterion for doing a classic review. One, if there's some kind of anniversary associated with the movie or album. I do want to do also classic album reviews. Like if a movie or album is turning 50 years old or 25, 30 years, whatever, if it's something like that. Two, if it relates to something that's coming out later this year, for example, like the fourth Matrix movie is set to come out in, I believe it's December, I would maybe do a review of the first Matrix before then. Three, if it has some kind of connection with me, if it's a movie or album that I hold close to my heart, even if I don't really consider it to be good, if it's very nostalgic for me, then I might be tempted to review it. And I'm setting it to a minimum of 15 years. It has to be at least 15 years old. That's what I'm going to consider a classic on this channel. And so with this case, Citizen Kane turns 80 years old this year. And I had a great privilege of actually being able to go see it in a theater nearby me. This was my first time ever watching this movie. As some of you may recall in my review of Mank, I said I'd never seen it before. Now, this movie is often considered the greatest movie of all time, period. I mean, a number of people, a number of critics, not even just critics, just celebrities in general have considers to be one of, if not the greatest movie of all time. It's exciting, but also a little bit nerve-wracking to be a film lover and step into a movie like this, It's like when you've never listened to Sgt. Pepper's or Pet Sounds. There's so much hype built up around it, so it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. And right off the bat, I will say that I think this movie is excellent. I understand why people do consider it to be one of the greatest of all time. But personally, as of now, having only seen it once, I just think it's a really great movie. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I don't think it's perfect. I do think it actually could have been better in a couple different aspects that I'll discuss. And you know what? I'll get that out of the way first because I feel like people who review a movie like this will just constantly talk about how good it is and everything it does right. And I will get to that, but first I want to kind of do a role reversal here and talk about what I think it could have done better. Now, the screenplay is great. I'm not trying to take anything away from it. I think it definitely deserved that Oscar that it won. That's the only one it won, I'm pretty sure, which is ridiculous. It's a great screenplay, but I do think there are moments in the story that could have been a little bit more interesting and that felt a little bit dull to me. More specifically with the dialogue, there are times when characters are talking and they're not really talking about anything that interesting, and you could also interpret this as exposition. So I just think there are moments in the movie that could have been a little bit more interesting, a little bit more exciting, that were kind of boring to me and just felt a little slow to me. While the story is interesting, it's not exactly like this mind-bending story that just takes you to another planet or anything. It's just a good story, it's nothing amazing, nothing spectacular. That's really it for complaints with this movie. I mean, like I said, I do think that it is an excellent movie. There are a lot of things that this movie does right, and you guys have already heard everything that's been said about this movie by now, so I can really just repeat everything about it. The filmmaking here for a movie from the 40s is pretty top-notch. Beyond the directing and the way it's shot, the cinematography here and having certain characters in specific scenes have the light on them, other characters are in the shadow. This is also kind of emblematic of some of the themes that the story goes over. But then, yeah, also the way that the movie is shot, the way that the story is told in a non-linear form. Very different for the time that this movie came out. And of course, I can't talk about this movie without mentioning Orson Welles, who performs great, not just in front of the camera, but behind the camera, with his direction, the writing as well. But yeah, of course, his acting is also excellent, and the makeup for him is really good. To think that he was 25 when they made this movie, and there are scenes when he looks like 60 or 70 years old, it's crazy. It's crazy what they were able to accomplish. You also have the score to this movie, which I think was also pretty different for the time. I think when you're going into a movie like this, or just specifically this movie by itself, I think you should take into account that almost everything that went into this movie with the filmmaking, with the story, just literally everything was so different for the time and so cutting edge. I don't think that this is a masterpiece, at least after my first time viewing it, but I think that it is a great movie, and I completely understand why people praise it so much. Initially, I was going to give this an A-, but having thought about it more and having let my thoughts linger on it and just process the movie more, I'm not going to give this movie an A. It's an excellent film, and yeah, everything that everyone says about it is, in my opinion, true. It really is that good. It's a movie that I really think everyone should watch at some point. Even if I didn't like it that much, I would still recommend it. Because it's Citizen Kane. Everyone knows this movie. Everyone, you know, has heard this title at some point. You know, like, yeah, I liked that movie, but it wasn't Citizen Kane. It wasn't that good, you know? Like, everyone knows this movie. Even if you haven't seen it, everyone has heard of it, has encountered this name at some point in their lives. Every single person. So it's just one of those things that they gotta watch, I think. So if you've seen Citizen Kane, I would love to hear your thoughts on this movie. Seriously though, that would mean a lot to me if you guys like commented what you think of this movie if you have seen it. Those comments really help a lot with my videos, help to give me feedback. I won't say the person's name if they don't want me to list their name on here, but on my previous video, the Brockhampton review, this person left a comment that was really great and really made me very happy. Not only did they compliment me and complimented my review, but they also answered the question that I had in my review, because I asked like what are your favorite tracks if you heard this album, and they also listed their favorite tracks. So it was just like the perfect comment, because they were praising my video and then also answering the question that I asked. So I'd love it if you guys would continue to do that. That would really make me happy and help a lot too to, I think, improve my channel. Just, you know, feedback, any kind of feedback, I'll take it. But with that said, I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.